Hi, budget friends. I wanted to share with you a spreadsheet that I created that I'm using to assist me in buying a home. At the moment, buying a home seems like an impossible task, and trying to also understand how much my monthly payments would be in comparison to how much I pay for rent now. So I created this spreadsheet. I thought it would be a good thing to share with you guys. If you guys are interested in learning how to create this spreadsheet, let me know in the comments and I will do a video on how to create this home buying budget estimator. So I'm going to show you essentially how it works by crunching some numbers. Everything in white is a cell that I would need to either input some numbers or leave it at zero. So I'll just start with the desired home value. So let's say looking for a home at $320,000. And I'm going to put 20% down. If I put in 20% here, there's this monthly PMI, which is a mortgage insurance. If you put down less than 20% for your down payment, is going to require typically a mortgage insurance. I've put into this here a number that is the national average for a PMI. As you could see here, when I am under 20%, my PMI percentage is entered here. And then this number here is it's estimated per month. So 10%, let's just say, is the down payment now. The term is in years. Typically, you're going to have a 15-year or you're going to have a 30-year fixed rate, which is the typical for mortgages. So I'm just going to leave it at 30. And then the next input that I'm going to add is the interest rate. Now, interest rates have been going down, but they are still high. So at the moment, I was looking around to see what the national average is. And at the moment, it looked like 6.22 was approximately the rate. Taxes are going to vary very widely depending on where you live. So I'm just going to put in a random number. I'm going to just say $3,000 per year in taxes. The state that you live in might be lower for a $320,000 house. It might be much higher for a $320,000 house. It depends on the state that you live. So also, for desired home values, you're going to have to look in your area to see what home values are selling for approximately. In my area, there really aren't any homes for 320,000 right now. Perhaps at some point there might be. Okay, so monthly fees would be monthly maintenance fees or HOA fees. These types of fees are usually for like a condo or a townhouse, something like that. So if there are HOA fees or monthly maintenance fees, you would input that number here. I'm going to skip that one and leave it at zero. The next cell is for a program that might be in your state. Not all states offer first-time home buyer programs, and not everybody will qualify for them. But I put this in here because it can be something that's very helpful, and you would want to know if you do qualify for a first-time home buyer program, you would want to enter this in here because it would make a really big difference. So let's just pretend and say there's a $10,000 first-time home buyer program in your state. So I'm just going to enter that there. Next, homeowners insurance. There's, again, a national monthly average. I looked it up and I believe it was $160 a month for homeowners insurance. That may be much higher for where you live or much lower. That is approximately the average. So as I entered all of that information, some of these cells that are in different colors have been filling up. So at the moment, it looks like there's a down payment amount would be $22,000, and the monthly payment is approximately $2,644. With hidden fees, those are some closing costs. Closing costs can range, I looked it up, anywhere from 2 to 6%. I left it at 4%, but you can see if I change this pull down menu to 6%, this number changes and some of these other numbers change as well. If I go down to 2%, these numbers change as well. So I'm going to put it back at 4%, which is about the average or middle. And I'm just going to take this, make a note about this. So this $10,000 is going to be first coming out of the down payment. And if there's more than the down payment available, then it'll start taking away from these hidden fees. So let's say this is $300,000 and your down payment would normally be $30,000. Let's say you're actually putting in 5% for the down payment. So I just lowered this because I want to show how this works. So for the first time home buyer program, let's say you actually get $20,000. So that's more than your down payment here. So this will end up being a zero, and then the remaining $5,000 will come out of here. So if I enter $20,000, this turned into zero, and the remaining amount came out of there. So I'll put these back to where they were. Let's say 10. Let's say this is 10,000. So right now, what we had earlier was $22,000 for a down payment, and the monthly payments for your mortgage, which includes your PMI here because this is under 20%, would be 2644.32. In addition, here in white, you can also add some miscellaneous costs. I don't know if there's any additional fees or anything else that you might have, so I'll just put in $500 for that. Here is total closing costs and fees and everything due at signing. Typically, this also includes the first month for your mortgage, I believe. So I did include that in this dollar amount. In these cells, you can also enter some additional information. So here it's telling me the amount that I would need to save for closing costs and hidden fees would be this 37,944.32. That also includes 1 month of mortgage. There's a cell here that is available to enter current saved for down payment. So let's say, for example, I have saved $30,000 for a down payment, not 300. That would pay for everything. $30,000 for a down payment. So that means right now I would have remaining to save this $7,944. Let's say I saved $50,000. So when I put in an amount that's more than what I need, this changes to say excess saved for closing costs. So that means I actually have more than I need. I have $12,000 more than I would need. So let's pretend I really only have 30,000. You'll see this cell is going to change and it's going to say remaining needed. So remaining to save for closing costs, and it shows a negative number. That's a formula that I entered into there to change depending on what this cell does. Here there is include moving costs and total due at signing. So this is just a yes or no pull down. Let's pretend and say, yes, we want to include moving costs because that's going to be something that we have to account for. Otherwise, we may not have enough money for it. So let's just pretend it's $1,500 for moving costs. And I said, yes, I want to include that in the signing costs because that's just going to give me a total amount that I need to budget for. And then here in this area, this is just a calculation that tells me the difference between what I will be paying versus what I am paying. So let's say currently, which is actually what I do pay right now, unfortunately, my rent did go up. So my current rent is $2,700. So with all of that said, my new mortgage payment, this is the same amount as this calculation right here. My new mortgage payment would be $2,644, which is $55.68 less per month than I'm currently paying. Let's say I'm currently paying $2,600, and now it says $44.32 more per month. So that's just how that works. And so in this scenario, it's telling me that these are the total closing costs, including fees and a month of mortgage payments due at signing. So you can play with these numbers and see how these numbers change depending on some of these fees and different things that are variable factors. So let's go back to that 300,000. Let's say you qualify for only putting down 3%, which is not typically something that a lot of mortgage companies have available. Let's say you get 6%. If you did have a 3% down payment, then your closing costs would probably be closer to the 6% versus more of the 2% with a higher down payment. With those calculations changing a little bit, I have this much excess saved. So let's say in this scenario, I have $30,000 that I'm going to put down, and it looks like I have an extra $8,400. I might want to consider, do I want to put another percent down towards my down payment and maybe lower my closing costs? Or do I want to have this excess saved and leave it in an emergency fund? You know, those are all the different factors that you might want to consider. So let's say I want to leave it as a emergency fund. So I would have that amount in my emergency fund. Or I could change this to 4%, and it looks like I still have excess. So let's say I have 5% down, and now I still have excess, but maybe I also am lowering my closing cost by putting down a little bit more. So you would just want to play with these numbers, talk to your realtor, ask some questions, see what makes the most sense for you, and just play with the numbers until you are satisfied with what. So now here, I just went to 7%. With 7%, I would have $520 that I would still need to save in order to cover all of my closing costs. But let's say because I'm putting 7% down, let's say I only have a 4% closing costs, and that changes that again, and maybe I can really do 8%. So playing around with it really does give you a better standing when you do discuss all of the financials with your realtor, just so that you're in a good position to be able to ask for what you need and know what you're getting into when you're buying a home. Also, it's a good idea to look at your credit score to see where you might end up with an interest rate. That will be really important because the interest rate with a higher credit score, you might get a lower interest rate. But if you have a really low credit score, your interest rate might be higher. So you might want to review that and see where you stand. And depending on how all of your numbers are formulating and coming up, let's say you negotiate a little bit and say, in order to put 8% down, I need a 6% interest rate. And let's say they're trying to give you 6.22%. Okay, well, if you want me to put 9% down, then I would need a 5.9% interest rate, and just negotiate those things and see where the numbers land. I hope watching was helpful and you learned something new. If you are interested in a video showing how to create this spreadsheet, let me know in the comments below. And if you like content like this, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye.